Have you ever wondered what flipping cars would be like outside of America? Well, to answer that, we're going to be speaking with Joshua Sanderson, a UK YouTuber that has been blowing up in the car scene, taking a simple side hustle and blowing it up into thousands of dollars of profit. And as a quick thing, before we go into his story, I just want to give you guys something for free as well. I put together a free checklist just highlighting the main steps to really hit when you're looking for a car to flip for profit. If you want access to that, go to the link in the description below, and let's get into the video. Joshua, first of all, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It's great to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So yeah, we'll jump right into it just to get into the first couple of questions. First thing was just like, what made you even get into flipping cars to begin with?
Oh, it's a tough one. I can't even remember, to be honest. I think I've always gotten bored with cars quick, so it's been a case of I'd buy a car, have it for a few months, few weeks, whatever, and then fancy something else, and always trying to up myself to that next thing, you know, a bit more power, rear-wheel drive, stuff like that, nicer cars. So I guess I just started buying cars, and the first one I ever flipped, it was actually by accident. I bought a E39 530D a few years ago. It was a non-runner. I had to tell my parents that I'd gone to look at it and thought it was a good car, so got it trailered back. But I actually just went to the pub with my mates whilst I sent someone to go get it. Didn't even look at the car. It wasn't running, so got it back. Thought it was a fueling problem. Changed the high-pressure fuel pump, which was a massive issue. Still didn't run, and then I put like £20 worth of fuel in, and it ran fine. It turns out an O-ring had gone in the fuel tank, so it was dragging air in when it got below a certain level. So I sold that for like £1,200 a little bit later, and after that I realised, if I can fix broken cars, then I can sell them for more money and make a bit of profit. And the whole idea was just to get in those newer, nicer, faster cars, and it just turned into something from there. So yeah.
Wow. And what on that topic actually, what cars have you driven that, let's say, you flipped and were some like cool cars to drive as well?
Yeah, so I think my favourite one was definitely Nissan 350Z, big 3.5 litre V6. Big here for the UK anyway. I know you guys have like massive V8s everywhere, but here you don't get that many high displacement engines, so that was super cool. That was like a realistic dream car for me for ages as well, so super stoked on that. I had that for 3 weeks and spent £500 on petrol. So that was pretty insane, yeah. And then, to be fair, the most recent video on my channel, the Audi TT, that was slightly modified, and that thing was quick. That was like spinning wheels in fourth gear, so that was another fun one. And then, yeah, I had a Z4 MX-5s. So the rear-wheel drive manual stuff is definitely my bag.
Yeah. And from what you've seen, do those cars sell pretty well, like the sporty cars in your area as well?
Yeah, I think I found that you can almost get more money with the sporty cars, especially you can get away with some modifications, but obviously your target audience goes from like the entire of the UK down to who's buying a sports car. And if it's not in summer and it's like soft top, it's even like, it's so much smaller, but you can get away with more modifications and stuff because obviously the people wanting them, it's a bonus. Whereas if it's like your normal grocery getter, if it's modified, it's not worth touching it because people just think, I'll just get some of the stock, and if I want to do it, I'll do it myself.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, actually, one thing that I've seen in America too is like, if you have a manual sporty car, let's say like a manual 350Z rather than the automatic version, it usually sells for a little bit more. Is it that way in your area too?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have that many automatics here as a country, which is strange. It's so rare that people are looking specifically for autos that it's like if you have a sports car that's an auto, it's like you're gonna really struggle selling it. Like here, for whatever reason, people just drive manuals. And I know for me, my dad's always said like auto boxes, especially from the sort of kind of years that I buy cars from, the auto boxes, they're terrible on fuel. It takes them like a few weeks to change gear, and so yeah, here manual for sure on anything sort of fun, yeah.
Wow, because actually, yeah, in America, not only is it different with the sports cars, but let's say for the regular cars, like let's say you went to buy, I don't know, like a Nissan Altima or something like that, or a Toyota Camry. If you got the manual version of it, for a basic car like that, it would actually sell a lot harder. Like, it would take a lot longer to sell
Uh,
because nobody really wants to buy a car like that for a basic commuter.
yeah, it's
So it
insane.
actually,
I don't know why
yeah,
there's such a huge difference between the countries, because it seems like there. I mean, obviously I've never been, but from videos and stuff, it seems like most cars there are autos, even if they're
hmm,
older ones. But here, yeah, you struggle to find an auto car unless it's sort of like, I'd say 2015 plus. You know, it's the same around the world. They're not making
yeah,
very
yeah.
many manual fast cars, so
Hmm.
2015 plus probably. But the older ones, you really. I think I've flipped two automatic cars I've owned, and I've owned like, I'd say over
Really?
35, 40. Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy, actually.
yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah.
And so, actually, on that topic too, let's say, from what you've seen, what are the cars that actually sell the best? Like in your area, what would be the cars that, like, you could put it up and from what you've seen would get like the best traction? What type
Yeah,
of cars?
for here it's a no-brainer. If you're wanting something to flip quick, absolute no-brainer. You've got like, it's just small hatchbacks. So five
Mm,
doors is better for sure, but three doors sell as well. So you've got like Vauxhall Corsas, VW Polos, Golfs,
hmm.
Toyota Aigos, Yaris's, that sort of stuff, like the smaller cars. It's what most people want here as well. Another big difference I've only just sort of realised is the roads here are so much smaller than over there. So it's like, to be fair, people buying newer cars for whatever reason. You know, people with more money, they are tending to get SUVs, but still, most of the cars you see on the road, they're all small hatchbacks. It's
Hmm.
just the way it is, and all of them manual as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that's really different from here because SUVs, yeah, that's like the main thing in
Yeah,
America.
yeah.
Like, I'd say really just about any area you could sell pretty easily with the SUV.
Mm.
But I guess I'd say probably the biggest thing contributing to that is like how you guys are with like parking and stuff. I went to Europe a couple times, and from what it seems like, the parking out there is crazy compared to here. Like, you don't park too much in really tight spots like that in most
Yeah.
places in America, but there it's like to get you got to really get into that perfect parallel parking type of
Oh
zone.
yeah, yeah. If you can't parallel park, you're gonna struggle if you want to go
Yeah.
anywhere except from like Tesco. But even at the supermarkets, the spaces they're still the same size that they were in like the 80s when you had like Austin Minis and Metros and like
Hmm.
Reliance and that sort of stuff, and the cars. Like, even if you compare sort of the same car 30 years past, you know, like a Golf or something. Looking
Yeah.
from the back, it's like that was the one in the 80s, and now the same car is like that much wider, and that's
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
SUVs and stuff. So parking here is insane.
And actually, what you quickly brought up, like Facebook groups and stuff. Have you ever gotten a car like specifically through a Facebook group? Like, have you ever gotten a better deal? Because sometimes that's like a strategy in itself, going to Facebook groups to get cars
Yeah,
instead.
I join a lot of them once I've bought a car. So now my Facebook is just like endless amounts of Facebook groups for certain cars, because I pretty much join them straight away. One for fixing issues, it's great because someone's
Hmm.
definitely had the problem before, save you diagnosing it. And
Yeah.
then I think I've sold one car on a group, but I've never bought one
Mm,
specifically from a group. To
I
be fair,
got
there's
you.
a lot of good ones here. Like, I've just moved to South Wales, and for whatever reason here, there's so many Facebook groups that are like cars for sale in Wales, cars for sale in South Wales, and they're full. Literally every day, maybe you'll get five people saying, "Oh, I'm looking for a five-door hatchback manual, less than two
Hmm.
thousand pounds or something." So it's super super handy for like Facebook groups. Yeah, they're well worth joining,
Yeah,
to find cars or even for selling them.
I'd say so. And actually, for you, I mean, this might be somewhat of a tougher topic because you've sold so many cars. But is there one flip that really like stands out to you as being like, wow, this is the best one? Like, you saw that flip and you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is
It's got
crazy.
to be. It's got. I'm so lucky that I did this after I started YouTube. But the red
Hmm.
BMW One Series on the channel, hands down,
Hmm.
that is insane. I went halves with my mate, and I think we still made like £1,400 each or something. Like, it was
Nice,
insane.
nice.
It's so frustrated as well because people, like so many people, have commented on that video. Oh, this is fake. You can't buy one of these cars for £500.
Hmm.
You just can't do it. And it's like the only reason I found out about that specific car. So basically, my neighbour knew I'd been flipping cars, been doing it for like 3 years or so, and
Hmm.
his colleague at work She said, "Oh, we're about to scrap this car. We've gone to a garage. They've said the engine's seized. It needs a new engine. Sorry, they didn't say it's seized, but they said it needs a new engine. It's going to cost like £6,000 or something." So they said, "Oh, we're going to scrap it." And my neighbour actually said, "Oh, I know a guy. He'll probably buy it off you. He'll give you some more money for scrap, so you might as well." So I said, "Yeah, I'll go look at it." Drove it. There was loads of blue smoke coming out of the exhaust. And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's the turbo, a couple £100, few hours on the driveway. Anyway, bought that for £550, got it back. You can watch the video for the full thing, but we ended up making so much profit on that, and it's a perfect show of. I think I was speaking to you about it earlier. The best cars that I have ever found to flip are always through word of mouth, because they're always cars that they're just going to scrap them. So they don't want to list them on Facebook because it's not that much money for them if they're selling it for like, if they could get £1,000 private or they could get £200 at the scrap, it doesn't matter to them. So if you can sort of get in between the seller and the scrapyard, anywhere in between that is big money for sure.
Yeah. I've gotten cars like that as well, and actually I know, like you said, first of all, there's a lot of people that doubt things on YouTube, which is annoying in itself. When the
so
comments,
frustrating,
that's just how it is, yeah. But I mean, even me myself, I've gotten some great deals like that as well, because people don't realize that, but it's still a great value to someone else. If for their view, they're just going to junk it anyway. If you could just offer them a little bit more money for that car, that could be a steal too. Yeah. And from a lot of people, realistically too, they don't even know exactly what's going on with the car. They might have just given up or just being tired of having the car just sitting there for a while. So
exactly, yeah. It could be like a fuse or something, but it's put the car in limp mode, and that's it. They think, oh no, like the engine's broken, it's worth nothing to the scrapyard, and then we come in and make loads of money.
Exactly. And actually, so let's say since you've been flipping for a decent while now, is it kind of where you are like that neighborhood flipper in a way? Like, have you gotten connections and possibly gotten cars just from being like that person that people see flipping cars?
Yeah, 100%. Back home, I'd say after doing it from 12 months was when the stuff started to like roll in. I think I had 4 cars from friends families that they were just going to scrap or go to We Buy Any Car. I don't know if you have that, but here quickly it's just like they'll offer you a super low valuation on the price, and then when you go to sell it, they'll say, oh, there's a scratch here, the wheel's scratched, and they'll offer you like 10%. And people that would have done that, and they're like, oh, do you want this car? And it's like, yeah, I'll go. And every single time that's happened, every single time I've made money. It's the other side of it that's difficult, where it's waiting for something to pop up on Facebook Marketplace. It actually happened last night. It was a BMW Z4, 3 litre straight 6 manual, worth about £4,000, and it needed a new steering rack. The guy just had enough of it. I messaged him after it had been listed for 1 hour, and he said he's had 20 different messages off 20 different people, and 2 people are on their way to go view the car, and that was in less than an hour. So it's like, it's stuff like that, you just have to jump on it because it's so rare, but that's where the big money comes in.
Yeah. I would say the same thing. And so from what you've seen, the Facebook listings, I mean, you've gotten some success from it, but the biggest ones have been ones that's more like word of mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I completely forgot your question. But yeah, back home.
Oh, that's fine.
Back home, it was good. I had like a good community of people that knew what I was doing. I've just moved, probably about 6 months ago now. I've moved to a different place in the UK, so I don't really know anyone. But hopefully, I'll make some friends, and then more people will sell me cars.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I gotta say the awesome thing with when you brought up that the biggest video that you probably had so far, one of the biggest ones where you had the
definitely the biggest
BMW that you flipped, which was an awesome video by itself. So props to that.
Thanks, man.
But
Appreciate it.
I saw that you also had like a couple of friends that helped you out to like do the whole process. So do you have like kind of, is that generally a thing where you have somewhat business partners that help you out with things, or?
Yeah. Not so much business partners. Like, me and my friends haven't really treated it like that. It's always been a bit of fun for us, but I do have a few other friends who, one main one, Will, who's in some of the videos. He was in a lot of the E90 video that I flipped, the 330D. And yeah, he had a garage on his house, so it was a double garage, so we'd used to just work on cars virtually every weekend there. And then loads of other friends. All of them have been in the videos now, I think, but all of us, when something's wrong with someone's cars, we'll go and help out and crack some beers and have a laugh. And that's just what we've always done, instead of going out and partying on the weekend or whatever. We just party in the garage with a broken car in the middle, But yeah, I was super blessed back home, and even a couple of them have come back down here to help me with a car. But yeah,
awesome.
it's super super blessed with my friends for sure. Like, so grateful. At the moment, I'm on my own, but I've got a few good lads at work who like help me, bounce ideas off their heads when stuff's gone wrong and I can't figure it out. So that's super handy as well. But yeah, super blessed with our friends for sure.
And actually, I mean, just looking at some of your videos too, and just looking at your skill set, I gotta say, first of all, I mean, you have a pretty diverse skill set for someone that, like, I mean, you're mainly doing it as a side hustle so far.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
for sure.
fact that fixing cars, like, you seem like you know what you're doing a good amount, even detailing, like, you know how to really get like the right things. You're not
Get in
just
the
flying
comments to
past
the
everything.
videos and you'll see someone that says the complete opposite for sure.
You always have those. You always have
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even with that skill set that you kind of developed over time, especially for fixing cars, where did you kind of get all that from?
So it's just I don't know if it is more common than I think it is, but because all my friends were sort of the same, it was just, you buy your first car. I was so obsessed with cars even before I could drive, from Top Gear in the UK and
Mm,
games that I've played and stuff. So I've always been obsessed with cars. And as soon as I got my first car, it's like, right, can I make it a tiny bit faster? Can I make it handle better?
yeah.
And it just comes from that, and as well, it helps that I think I've got a bit of Yorkshire in me. For any people that are in UK, they'll understand I'm super tight with money. I hate spending money, so when something broke, it's like I'm not taking it to a garage and paying someone £60 an hour to fix it. I'll do it myself. So, because I'm always buying cheap cars, there's always something to fix. So,
Mm,
yeah, it's literally just experience. Everything that I know is just from doing it, and then
mm,
being interested in cars. I'm sure like Chris Fix and stuff like
yeah.
that. I'll absolutely tan all of them videos. So yeah, it's just an
Just
interest, and
experience.
yeah, and
Hmm.
I'm I'm quite glad that I'm still super interested in learning about cars, because
Mm,
some stuff, if you do it more often, you think, it takes the fun away if you do it more often. But with cars,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
still like Matt Armstrong in the UK. Watching his videos and learn about cars is
Hmm.
still super super entertaining to me. So
I got you. And let's say for you, when you do a car flip, is there any things that you would avoid? Like, let's say if this came up and it was for a listing, or you would be like, I'm definitely not even going to try to touch that
yeah,
when it
yeah.
comes to like fixing the car.
There's a list of them for sure. I think bodywork, if it's not a replaceable panel, I don't buy cars with bad bodywork, because I know how expensive it is. I can't do it
Hmm.
myself, and I know that it takes so long to learn, how to paint well or something. Like, I've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
bits with a spray can and it never looks good. So bodywork I avoid. Any insurance write-offs, I avoid all of them, just because it brings the value down so much, and the amount of
Mm,
people that will want to buy one is so slim. And then I think, obviously, if stuff's it sounds a bit backwards, really, but I try and avoid cars as well which seem too good to be true, because my
mm,
mate, we're always looking at cars on Facebook, so that's how we know like the value. Is just what we do in our spare time is scroll Facebook Marketplace, and
yeah.
we're always sending each other cars, and Will send me cars all the time where it's like, it's just cheap. They say there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like maybe 60% the price of what it should be,
Hmm.
and I always avoid them. If they don't say there's something wrong with it, just my gut feeling is something is wrong with it, and it's so badly wrong that they don't think anyone will buy it if they admit it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if it seems too good to be true, then I don't do it. There is exceptions to that. If you have cars with a cult following, like old BMWs, MX-5s,
Hmm.
sportier stuff, you do get the odd one where it's, say someone's owned it from new and they don't realise that it's got such a cult following, so they don't know how much it's worth. I had that with a BMW E46. Like, I went to see this fella. He had a super nice house. He had loads of money, and he sold
Hmm.
me it for like 900 quid. There was a few bits wrong with it. That one's on the channel, but he just he'd had it from brand new, I think, or maybe two owners, and he just had no idea that people really wanted these old BMWs. So there is an exception, but
Yeah.
most of the time, if it's just cheap, it is too good to be true. My dad always said there's no
Yeah.
such thing as a free lunch. So
Yeah, actually, on that point too, like, are there, let's say in America, let's say you go on Facebook Marketplace or really even other ones like OfferUp and different things like that,
yeah,
there'll be scams, like different scam type of listings that'll come up. Do you have things like that come up in your area?
endless, endless. Facebook has gotten so. I'm gonna have to try not to start shouting, but like I can finally rant about this. No one else cares, you know what I mean? I can't
Mhm.
like complain to my girlfriend about this, but Facebook Marketplace is full to the brim of scammers at the moment. It's absolutely
Mhm.
insane, and that's another one of them things where you'll have like a 10 grand car. They've listed it for like 4 grand, and you
Yeah,
message
yeah.
them, and it's like, oh, email this person at like. At
Uh,
some dodgy email address, and then you can send your deposit to them, and it's like, you're absolutely insane. Surely no one is doing this. But then you go on their listing, and they'll have like 3,000 cars for sale, all for like 50% off. They're all obviously
mhm.
brand new, one owner, like no issues with them. And it's so frustrating because you think, oh,
Yeah,
listed an hour ago, I found a great deal here. Maybe there's something wrong with it, and it's not. It's just a scam. It's so painful. I hate
it
it.
is. It is really. I actually, has there been any times where you specifically like gotten scammed yourself, or unfortunately kind of gotten over a little bit?
Yeah, the only two times that I can think of is twice, which are gonna be my next two videos that are coming out. So a bit of a
Hmm.
spoiler on there, but yeah, you'll see what happened then. And and in the past, yeah, I bought a car off a farmer. Which, if there's any farmers here, I'm sorry, but my dad said that was the first mistake. He said never buy a car off a farmer. So I went and bought a pickup truck. Never
Hmm.
even seen like a pickup truck up close before. Um, Bought it, had no MOT, so I drove 20 minutes to get it MOT'd.
Hmm.
Dropped it
Oh,
off.
and really quick, MLT, just for my
Oh, sorry.
viewers.
Yeah, so MOT, you have to get it every 12 months for a car in the UK unless it's over 40 years old. But every other
Okay,
car, every 12 months you have to take it to a garage. They'll basically check all the safety things. So,
like
is it gonna
inspections. Okay.
yeah, is it gonna fall to
Hmm.
pieces? Are the tires legal? Is it safe? You do that every 12 months, and if it
Hmm.
fails, you have to get it fixed. Otherwise, you can't drive it. So
I
yeah,
got you.
I took it to get it MOT'd, and I didn't realize at the time, but you can get so many different topics of like so many different types of fail on an MOT. Dropped it off,
Hmm.
went away, did some work, came back an hour later, and it had four A4 pages of reasons why it failed its MOT. The first
Wow.
full page was dangerous defects, which means you cannot drive this vehicle until they're fixed. And then there was two more main fails, two more pages of fails, and then one page of
Hmm.
advisories. And it's like I got so
Oh my
lucky because
goodness.
I was friendly with the mechanic, and he had a friend who buys cars like that and exports them out of the country. So
Hmm.
I like drove it to him, really scared about getting pulled over for having no MOT.
Yeah.
And he gave me £400 for it, and I think I lost £400 in about 2 hours on that one. And it's like
Oh, in 2 hours. Wow.
actually, I want to ask you that because here you have got to be very careful buying cars. It's like for us, if we've got friends that don't know about cars, we say like don't go and look at one without people that know something about cars, just because it's a minefield of scammers and people hiding problems. So what's it like over
Yeah.
there? Is it okay buying sort of cheaper second-hand cars, or is it pretty dangerous as well?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say if you're going through private sale, you definitely should go with at least one person that knows cars a decent amount. Doesn't have to
Yeah,
be like a crazy amount, but like even, and you generally would see that. Like, let's say even for me, if I'm selling a car, especially through private sale, especially if it's like a woman coming to check out the car, they usually bring like some type of man with them. Of
yeah,
course, I mean there might be women out there that will know a decent amount about cars too,
yeah, for sure. But
but most of them, they might go with the man there as well. That's kind of like their mechanic, or they even ask things like, "Oh, can you bring it with me to the mechanic?" and different things like that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But because yeah, most times, just as you're saying, there's plenty of people that they'll post up something and it's usually not what you expected. Actually, let's say just for the fact of like, let's say people if they were jumping into flipping cars themselves, is there any like best practices that you think you would teach people just so that they could kind of be a little bit more safe in general?
Yeah, I think obviously if you, there's two different people in there. There's someone handy with mechanics who wants to start flipping cars, and I don't. The only thing to say is obviously make sure you do your research on values of cars, which I don't know about you, but it's almost one of the most time consuming things, because when you're looking on Facebook Marketplace, you almost have to know what every car is worth, just so that you know if something's cheap, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've got to be like looking through cars all the time. So you just get in your head, oh, that's a 2012 VW Polo. That should be worth about $2,500. So this one's cheap. And if you don't know much about fixing cars, I'd definitely start off on smaller engine. I'd actually say older cars, because they're just so much easier to work on. Like an early 2000s Vauxhall Corsa. They're really, even when it comes to like engine problems, there's not much that you can't do on a driveway on one of those. Whereas if you think, oh, I'm going to start flipping cars, I got $5,000, I'm going to go buy let's say an Audi S5 or something that's cheap, and if you got something wrong on that and you're not familiar with them, you're in for a world of pain. And then it gets to the point you've torn the car halfway apart. There's something wrong with it that you can't fix, and then you've got a car that's worse off than when you bought it, and you've got to try and not lose money. It's like sometimes you're halfway through a flip and you're thinking, I can't fix this, and I've got the car in two pieces on my driveway, and no one's going to want to buy it. But sometimes you can struggle your way through it. But yeah, I'd say main things to look out for is definitely one big tip actually that I got told was, if you go to see a car, touch the engine. If the engine's warm and they haven't sort of said, oh, sorry, I've just had to go to the shop or something. If the engine's warm, a lot of issues won't show up. So if it has trouble cranking when it's cold, or when it's got a cold engine, something bad happens. It can hide a lot of bad issues. So if you touch the engine when it's warm, just have your sort of your spidey senses on. I know it doesn't mean it's bad. If it's someone's only car, they could have just gone to pick the kids up. It really doesn't. It's not definite, but that can
just be aware, kind of.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah,
and actually, I mean, in America, a big thing that unfortunately a lot of people like to do when they're selling their own cars is like clear codes as well. Is that something that happens out there as well, or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of people here that they do like to take out the bulbs as well. So say if you've got an engine check light on that you can't fix, or it's from something dangerous, then they'll just take the bulb out or get a little screwdriver and smash the hole. So it's hard to notice, but it means you can't see there's a problem. So another big thing to watch out for is when you turn the ignition on, all the warning lights on the dashboard should come on. So if you turn that on and you see something's missing, then the bulb isn't working, and it's probably done on purpose, because I've never heard of one of them bulbs failing on their own.
Yeah. Especially it just happened to be the check engine light that's gone, if anything.
Yeah, and the engine's running like horribly misfiring.
Right. So actually, even for your point, when you're flipping cars, another thing with us when we're in America is there's actually like a cap of how many cars you can even sell in a year. Like, let's say how many cars you can register and then sell. Yeah. Is that the same thing in your area, or?
Yeah, we have in the whole of the UK. If you're not like a registered car dealer, where you have to jump through quite a few hoops, then you can sell 6 cars a year, paying no tax on them. And then anything after 6 in 12 months, you have to pay income tax on. So that depends how much you earn. But there's no limit on how many you can register. Like, in theory, if one of my videos hit 100 million subscribers and 100 million views and I made a load of money, I could buy 1,000 cars in a month. There's no limits on that at all. It's just what you pay tax on. Yeah,
it's like that. Yeah, it must be nice. But
it would be if I could afford to buy more than like 3 a year.
And let's say when it comes to even to the dealer aspect, even touching on that, have you ever thought about like going full into becoming your own dealer yourself?
Yeah, I've looked at doing. To be honest, it's just one of those things that I keep meaning to look at, but never getting around to it due to everything else that I'm doing. But I do want to become a dealer, only because so here you have like a V5, which is, I think it's like a pink slip, a green card, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
which is the document that tells you own the car, and on that it says how many previous owners it's had. And if you're a dealer, you can buy a car and sell it, and it doesn't add you as an extra owner,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
can be really annoying. Because say if I go buy a car now that's got one owner from new, and then I buy it, suddenly it's had two, and then the next person, they're going to be the third owner, whereas they could have
Mm-hmm.
just been the second. So I do need to look into that for sure, and I think you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
like cheaper insurance and things like that, but it's just something I haven't got around to doing.
Mm-hmm.
But in the future, I haven't decided whether I want to run sort of like a used car dealership or not. I think it
Yeah.
depends how my journey through YouTube goes, but perhaps in the future having a small used car dealership would be quite nice.
I mean, truthfully, from what it sounds like, part of it, because some of the part of even becoming a dealer in America is because of that same point I just mentioned, where people they can only sell a certain amount of cars per year. So if they really want to scale up with things, they have to
They
do it
have to, yeah.
like that. Yeah. Of course, there's other benefits as well. You could even do things like going to dealer auctions and different things like that, which is also nice.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that in itself is like a huge aspect to it. So at least you don't have that limitation yourself.
Yeah, so just a quick one for you. Have you bought many cars from auction?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, like I'm right now, I'm doing a flipping series where I'm flipping like $1,000 to $100,000,
Yeah, yeah, I
and
see
there's
that.
there's some cars I've gotten through private sale, but a
Yeah.
lot of them actually are through auction. And honestly, it would be pretty tough to do that if I just went through private sale,
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
flipping that many cars. Of
Yeah.
course, I could, but it would take a lot longer, and different things like that.
I think I'm gonna get. I've never hit the auctions because here there's a few different rules. Like the big ones, the main ones, you have to pay a big membership fee just to go, and then on top
Mm,
of that, you have to pay like buyer's premium. So it
mm.
can get really expensive. But I think there is one where I've moved to live now where it's free to go, and I think you've inspired me. I think that might be a video in the next few months is flipping my first car from auction and seeing if
Yeah, yeah.
that's... I might have been sleeping on it for like years and that could be the way to make money doing this, and I'll be really frustrated but happy at the same time.
So for you, what has been like the main paths for getting a car to flip? Is it mainly been like Facebook Marketplace for the most part, or
Every car I've ever flipped is Facebook Marketplace, eBay, or someone's told me about
word
someone
of mouth?
that's gonna scrap it.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
I got
eBay is great as well for... I don't want to make it sound like I'm like robbing off old people because that's not how it is at all. But eBay
you.
is fantastic for those. Someone's bought a car when they were for brand new when they were like 55 or so, earning a lot of money,
Mm,
and they've retired, and now it's 20 years old, and they're
mm,
gonna buy another car or something. All of those
yeah,
seem to me, they seem to be on eBay because that older generation, they're familiar with eBay, they're not familiar with Facebook Marketplace. So I
I got
do
you.
I do hit up eBay every now and then, maybe like once every 2 days or some, and filter it from auctions ended soonest, see if there's anything on that, and then listed newest, and I'll check that so I sort of know
Mm,
what cars are there, and if there's something new, then yeah, maybe there's some steals on there, but
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to hit up an auction. I can't get that out of my head anymore.
You should definitely try it, man. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
especially of course if you could like go out. I don't know exactly how the auction will be out by you. Some auctions they'll have it where they're a little bit more risky, where you can't check out everything with the car. Like you can't even take them for a test drive, which suck.
Yeah.
But so but it depends. Like if you can go to something like that and you could have a bunch of cars there, it,
I
it could
think I
save a lot of
prefer
time.
that. Yeah, I'm a little.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a gambling man, so I think if you can test drive them, it's almost going to drive the prices up because everyone knows it's fine. Whereas even if it doesn't
Yeah.
run, it's like, oh, I can probably get that running.
And let's say for your point, like is there a certain price range that you like to stay in when it comes to flipping cars, like that you see kind of works the best?
I think I hate to say it, but I'm not really too experienced to give you a good answer to that because I've
Mm,
all my car. The most expensive car I ever bought was that Nissan 350Z, which was £3,500.
hmm.
Everything, virtually everything's less than 2 grand for me, but it's just because of my finances. Now I've got
Mm.
even more bills to pay and things like that. I'll have to test a few different places. But what have you found? Have you found older or newer cars work the best, or do you have a specific range that you go for?
I would say truthfully, especially in this economy, like right now, I mean, actually maybe it might be a little different by you, with how the economy is. But America, the economy is not doing too great, so not
No, not
everyone has
here.
like a crazy amount of money to spend.
Yeah.
And I would say generally like under $5,000 would be like the probably like the sweet spot for a car to sell. You could just because it could sell decently quick. Like you could still
Um,
generally get pretty good profit from it, depending
yeah,
on
yeah,
what you
yeah,
got it
yeah.
for, and it could sell decently quick. Like you could sell it potentially under a week,
Yeah.
whereas something that's selling for like $10,000 or so, you might take like a month or so to sell it, you
Yeah, I've
know.
just checked the conversion. That's £3,950. So for any Brits watching, yeah, that's.
Mm,
I think that is probably the zone that I would stick in, even if I had 10 grand to spend. But
yeah,
it confuses me because sometimes it's very rare, but sometimes on Facebook Marketplace you'll see like a Lamborghini Aventador for sale for like £220,000 or something, and it's like
mm,
it does make me think how much are most people gonna buy from a private seller.
yeah,
Like if I had a £25,000 car, is anyone gonna buy that private, or would they just spend the extra? I don't know. The 3 or 4 thousand that a dealer puts on top to get that
mm,
peace of mind and that warranty. Because obviously, me and you, we're the type of people who know about cars. We're probably more confident if we're buying something
yeah,
for
yeah,
ourselves. I'd save the 4 grand and inspect it myself because I know what I'm looking at. But
yeah.
9 times out of 10, would people just think, oh well, I can spend a little bit extra and have the peace of mind. I don't know how much people usually would spend on second-hand cars.
Yeah, yeah. Usually, honestly, it wouldn't be the case. Like, I mean, people will like you could. I'll see postings like that as well. I might see like a Nissan GTR up
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sale
yeah.
for like $100,000 or something like that, and eventually it will sell, but it'll take a while to sell,
Yeah,
especially because of two things. Of course, like realistically, yeah, not everybody is like you said trying to buy a car like that through private sale. They want to
yeah,
possibly have peace of mind and stuff too. But the other thing, even if the car is selling for like $30,000 or so, not everybody, most people don't really have that cash just laying
yeah,
around. They
yeah,
usually
yeah,
either get a
yeah.
loan to get the car.
Exactly. They'd
So
have to get a bank loan. So it's like,
exactly. So that's why if from what I've seen, if you can, going for the cheaper cars, you could go for the more expensive cars, but they'll take a little bit more to sell as well.
for
And
sure,
actually,
yeah.
is there like an average kind of time frame that you would usually like take to sell cars in general?
Too long. Too long. I'm not fast enough for sure. But I'd say for me, very different for you, but if I sell a car in less than a month of buying it, then that's really good for me. In terms of after
Mm,
listing it, I'd say, yeah, 1 to 2 months is probably usual of waiting for the car to sell. Any more than that, I start dropping the price and trying to get a bit creative of different ways to sell it.
yeah, yeah,
But the other thing is because now I'm mainly doing it for YouTube, I want that maximum profit to put on the
extra,
thumbnail and say this is how
yeah.
much I made. So I don't mind too much waiting.
And as one of the last points, is there? Well, actually, this kind of more of a loaded question to be honest. But would you be able to kind of wrap up what your general process would be to flip a car? Like, let's say from not the full A to Z, of course, it's just a quick explanation, but like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
main points.
I think so. First off, is probably spend about 3 weeks on my phone whilst I'm on the toilet, whilst I'm in bed with my girlfriend, whilst I'm at work, like for hours trying to find the right deal. And then once I've
Uh-huh.
found one, go and check it out. There's loads of checks that you can do. Obviously, the general gist of it is you buy a car, check the value of other cars before you go and look at it, so you know how much you want to knock off, know how
Yeah.
much you need to spend on parts, that sort of stuff. Do a lot of research before you go, because the
Mm.
worst thing is you go and buy a car and it's just the mid pipe of the exhaust needs doing. It's going to be cheap, and because it's a BMW, they want like £400 for it or something, and it's a surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, do all your research first. Buy the car, get it home, diagnose everything first. That's my biggest. Well, we've gone through so many stuff, and I've been like, oh, that's my biggest tip. But yeah, a big thing is diagnose everything. I know it's not always possible. Like if you've got a non-runner, you have to get it running first before other issues sort of come up.
Mm.
But before you buy any parts, before you do any work, try and find out exactly everything that's wrong. That way you can get all the parts ordered straight away. even if it takes you a few weeks to work through all the problems, everything's there. You don't have to wait for anything. And then every car I like to daily it at least for like a week or so. So I get like a week's private insurance, and I'll drive it to work and back if I'm seeing friends going home. That way, you know that the car is good, and there's no sort of hidden things that you haven't stumbled across. Because the worst thing, like as I spoke to you before about the guys from Scotland that came and they broke on the way home, like I was daily in that car for 3 weeks and I had no issues with it. One of them anyway, daily in that car for 3 weeks, no issues. And the feeling I got in my gut when he was messaging me saying, "You hid this problem, you knew about it, and you didn't say anything," and it's like, honestly, it makes you feel so awful. Like when I want, if someone buys a car off me, I want them to get in the car, because buying a car, you know, don't you? It's like your second biggest expense usually. So for someone to not get in my car after they've bought it and drive home and think, "Oh, look at this car, it's got all these features, it runs perfect, I got such a good deal," I really want people to feel like that, because if they don't, it's not even worth doing. That's another part of why it's so fun, is, you know, you've put all this blood, sweat and tears into a car flip, and then someone comes along and they really appreciate the car that you've sort of almost created. And the worst thing possible is if you've fixed the car, you sell it straight away, and there's an issue that you didn't know about comes up, and then they're on the phone to you saying, I want a refund, or I want you to come and fix it, or anything like that. I know for you, it's not the same if it's, you know, more of a scaled business, because, you know, you can't go and drive 30 cars for a week each one. You know, you'd never sell a car in your life. But if you're starting off, do that, and then obviously with time you do sort of get a taste for noticing, "Oh, this doesn't feel quite right," and things like that. I can't remember if we spoke about this before, but give it as good clean as you are humanly possible to do, or take some money out your profit to pay a proper detailer to come and clean it properly, because it adds to that customer experience when they come and look through the car. You know, if it smells nice, if the carpets are clean, if when they're touching the indicators they're sticky, you know, stuff like that. Just the real specific parts. And I saw you were looking at one of Chris Fick's videos, one of your video reviews of his video, and you pointed out when he was like cleaning the bit that your seatbelt goes into with like a little cotton bud, like stuff like that. It makes a massive difference, because like
it does.
I'm sure you're the same. Sometimes we go to view cars that are not looked after, and you don't even want to sit in them. There's just like a layer of grime. You don't want to touch anything. There's one car, the E36, I went and I had to buy a bunch of like cleaning products from the supermarket on the way home, because the inside was so sticky and mouldy and horrendous. So yeah, give it... If you need to, there's a guy called Epic Automotive Detailing. He's done incredible videos, you know, deep dives on how to properly clean a car. You don't have to become a detailer, but give it a great clean. Make clear photos as well. You don't have to go get a photography camera, but they have to be clear. Show every little bit of the car clearly. You know, don't take a picture, half of it's the sky and you've cut the bottom of the car off. You know, just be professional about it, you know. And then when people come, tell them everything that you know is wrong with the car if you haven't fixed it, because if they come and they find it out for themselves, one, you look like an idiot, and two, they're not going to trust you and they're probably not going to buy the car. So make sure you tell them everything, and also, I'm not sure if it's obvious, but expect to get knocked down on your price. I'm sure you know, but it's one of those things. I just thought maybe people who haven't flipped or sold a car before, maybe they think, if I list it for $2,000, I'll get $2,000. Almost always you'll get batted down on your price. So encompass that into how much profit you make. Like if I'm selling a car for £2,500, I don't think I'm going to get that much. I'll think I'll have my own limits in my head. Like, so say if it's a £2,500 car, maybe I'll say I want more than 2,100, and then anything more than that is almost a bonus. I think is a good way to look at it. What about yourself? Have you got any little tips for that as well?
First of all, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, that's a lot of the main points right there that you covered already. But I mean, I'd say just to add on that, I mean, it's not really much, but I'd say that the biggest part, just to kind of go a little bit deeper into what you were saying, was just that making sure that that purchase is the right purchase. Like you have to make sure that, especially if you're just getting into flipping cars,
Yeah.
you want to take your time, like you said, do the research, because the last thing you want is to buy a car and then you're finding out things later on after you bought it, and at that point it's too late. You know, the whole thing is the reason why people don't do well sometimes flipping cars is they might have just like quickly bought a car and they didn't know exactly what was going on with it. So your best thing is just doing as much research as you can before you go to check out the car, and when you're there checking it out, just do it. Take as much time as you can, you know, to check it out as well as you can as well.
Yeah, and that Touareg video, the VW Touareg that I did, the SUV, that is the perfect example of me not doing enough research. I was getting, itchy feet because I hadn't flipped a car in a while. I couldn't find something. I thought, oh, that seems cheap. I'll go and buy it. And if you haven't seen the video, I basically did about probably 30 hours of manual labour for free. So yeah, that's all because of I didn't follow our both
Yeah,
our
yeah.
own advice.
I mean, that was huge tips right there coming
Yeah,
from you as
yeah. I hope
well.
we help
Seriously,
some
that was
people.
amazing. Like that in itself could be something that someone could just run with.
I really hope we help some of your viewers out, and hopefully some of my team are here as well watching this video. So if you are, props to that. Follow me on Instagram if you're watching this video, and I think we'll have like a little giveaway afterwards for these for your viewers and for mine that have crossed over to your channel as well.